Welcome back. It's time for one of our newest and favorite segments, Louisiana Legends. We are joined with Colby Hebert, the Cajun Hatter, Traiteur, history buff. You do it all.
Yeah, and I'm excited to be here. Christmas, is a fun time for everybody.
Yeah.
Holidays, getting excited about, taking part in traditions. And we have quite a few unique ones here in Louisiana. The bonfire tradition is quite a big one, and it's epic and truly legendary because of how ancient it actually is. Yeah, so the bonfires really kind of started, from what I understand, long even before Christ, like thousands of years. In, I would say, northwest France, where most of the Acadians originated, there was a heavy presence of Celts, the Celtic culture, and in the Celtic culture, the Druids were sort of like those, kind of high priests or whatever, along those lines, and they would build these massive bonfires, on the solstice, on the winter solstice.
Okay.
And this was to sort of honor the sun, which was their primary worship, god, deity. And so they were kind of, it's the longest night of the year, which is actually today, so that's pretty cool, the solstice. It's the longest night of the year, and so they would light and construct these massive bonfires.
Okay.
And of course, kind of after Christ and after the introduction of Christianity, that kind of superseded, or rather took over the essence of it, as the Acadians were, Christians and Catholics. So, you come down into Louisiana, and along the St. James Parish levees,
they
construct these
giant,
massive bonfires.
Okay, that's really cool.
And, it got pushed to Christmas Eve. Also there was, I would say earlier on, it was probably more a New Year's Eve thing, because, for the early Cajuns, the religious dates, like the Christmas Day, were kind of more seen as very strictly religious.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically that was the way that it went, but it got pushed to Christmas Eve, and they kind of light the fires, and now it's like, the coming of Christ, but also the coming of some of them look at it as the coming of like Papa Noel.
Yeah.
Santa Claus lighting the way.
That's really cool.
But the final thing that it's looked at, sometimes is the lighting of the way for the Cajuns to head over to midnight mass. So that's the other big tradition. Midnight mass is just such again, Cajuns and their Catholicism. It's just such a strong tradition. People will go down to midnight mass. They look forward to it. It's a big production, really beautiful, and leads people, it's kind of the first instance that really leads people into the celebration of Christmas itself, the nativity, the birth of Christ, And afterward, they go home, eat a big bowl of gumbo maybe, drink some wine, and just get excited to kick off Christmas.
Yeah, I love that we're talking about kind of Christmas legends, traditions, and we have some more, believe it or not, coming up in our next half hour. Colby's hanging out with us, so you guys don't want to miss that. We'll be right back of Louisiana Legends with Colby Hebert, Cajun Hatter, Traiteur, his history buff extraordinaire. Okay, so we covered the Christmas Eve bonfires and midnight mass.
Yeah, so more traditions that we can tap into here in Louisiana or Acadiana. Some of them are, I would say, more distinctly Cajun, but even so, the Cajuns with our stories and our, unique culture, everybody in Louisiana likes to kind of tap into it. The Cajun Night Before Christmas book is something that I love, and we like to incorporate, which is, just the twist on that, Night Before Christmas book, where basically everything is kind of changed out to, more swampy Louisiana Cajun terminology. And for example, Papa Noel or Old Saint Nick rides a pirogue with pulled by alligators.
I was gonna say, is that the one with the alligator?
Yeah, so it's the whole thing is just really a fun twist on the original story that people can kind of read to their children in Louisiana, the night before Christmas.
Yeah.
But there's a lesser known, I would say a bigger tradition, but lesser known today because it's sort of dying out, which is Petit Bonhomme Janvier, which is the January man, the little January man, and. This is a really unique tradition. basically think kind of this elf on the shelf kind of concept, but just
Okay.
really Cajunized and actually steeped in history. It's a tradition that really existed. So basically, he is kind of like the little poorer brother of Santa Claus, of Saint
Okay.
Nick, and essentially has a different tradition where starting on Christmas Day is when he kind of actually shows up and plays around for the next 7 days. And this culminates
Why 7 days?
It culminates on
Okay.
New Year's Eve. And so New Year's Eve traditionally is when the Cajun kids would actually get their stockings filled
Okay.
prior to their introduction to Saint Nick or Santa Claus or Papa Noel in their lives. So I think maybe, let's say, mid to late 1800s,
Okay.
you had more of this tradition going on where basically little January man would show up and fill their stockings on New Year's Eve. And it was a similar thing where, dependent on how they behaved throughout the year, but especially those 7 days between Christmas and New Year's Eve, depended on whether they would get coal or something,
Yeah.
or they would get nice things like fruits and trinkets and little
Yeah.
things like that. But a more kind of detailed version, which is fun to play with, of the story is, like I said, kind of as it relates almost to like an elf on the shelf concept.
Yeah, but like a shorter version, which I think
Yeah,
parents
exactly.
would love.
And basically, what it is, sorry.
It's
they
okay,
kinda-
live TV, y'all.
They kind of go into, Christmas Day. He'll start playing with the toys that the kids got. He's very mischievous. They'll end up in places like the kitchen sink.
Okay.
And all of this play is getting him hungry. So every night you kind of take a little bit of something you might have cooked that night and put it under the tree and kind of feed him each night as he
Okay.
plays around every day with the new toys that the kids got for Christmas. And then on that seventh day, for New Year's Eve, basically what he does is he all of the toys are returned, and restored to their rightful place, and he fills their stockings as a sort of thank you.
For letting him hang out and
Right,
play
and then
around.
he's off back on his way until next year.
I love that. That's really cool. And so how could people, so they could do this now, is there like a certain, because you have the elf on the shelf doll.
Right. He's unseen, so kind of
Yeah.
like Santa Claus. He comes through, we don't see him. There is a little kind of book written about
Yeah.
it. Le Petit Bonhomme Janvier, the little January man, that you can find online or probably in some local bookstores.
Yeah.
To kind of follow the tradition.
Well, these are cool traditions that I love learning about. Colby, thank you as always for hanging out with us. If you at home, you want to learn more, head to our website, klaf.com. Every